Hi, Mr. Manish. Welcome to Training Diary. A very happy Independence Day to you. Lovely day to record this podcast. And before starting our conversation, I would like if you can enlighten our audience what you do and why you do.
Uh, Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Definitely, it's an auspicious day, and in fact, what better day than today to talk about the ability to do something impactful with independence and freedom. So my journey was something which started with those notes because I come from a family business background, but I wanted to really create something of my own, and that's how this journey started. And I was looking for areas which could have maximum impact. You start with less resources, but you are looking for causes which are bigger, and so that's the kind of mix that I was looking for. And I zeroed down that if the nation needs to move towards a very different world, a much more aspirational world, then definitely the youth is where you need to work on. And so what I figured out was that looking at the higher education sector, if we could provide solutions and towards making sure that that sector is able to actually deliver the learning in a more efficient manner, given the kind of ratios of good teachers versus the kind of population which is getting into higher education today. So we wanted to really improve that efficiency of delivery of learning to be able to derive better learning outcomes, better employability, and let the youth be able to actually get what they truly deserve. So that's the area that we started working on, and that's my business. My organization, which I lead, provides solutions to higher educational institutes to make this dream a reality.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think there's a beautiful quote someone said that education is all what set you free. So if I'll ever get a chance to feed a hungry student, I'll not, give him food, but some education. So in future, he or she can feed herself and the family. So beautiful. And to start with,
Yeah, but the canteen helps.
yeah. Yeah. So to start with, I'll keep the questions more around business, education in India, and we'll talk something on your personal note as well. So to start with,
Sure.
let's say in an Indian market now in 2024, if there are two or three sectors where you would like to start a business in, what these business sectors you would like to touch that you think they are the most profitable and they're going to evolve in another 5, 10, or 50 years.
So I'll like to differ a bit. As I told you that when I look at sectors, I look at uh, not just the business that you can derive out of it, but also the satisfaction that you can derive out of it. Because often the journey is hard, and unless your vision is also satisfying for you personally and for your team, you really don't last long enough to be able to make lofty rewards. So that's why we need to choose sectors which we are passionate about and towards of what kind of impact we can drive. And that's where I said that when you look at the youth, which is going to take India to the next 10 years, the entire vision of India is based on the youth of it, the young people. Now, if the youth are able to live their dreams, get what they deserve, and they are not frustrated by systems and the lack of systems and technology or the lack of them, that's where I think the true, value can be added. And so that's what we chose to work in this sector of, higher educational solutions, because we wanted that, today's youth, whether it's in a government college or in a government university, should be able to, not just get the proper education, we also not be frustrated by the systems and processes. And that's the entire challenge that we need to, solve at scale.
Also, talking about on the business level, so what I have seen recently, I have also started working on a somewhere on the hospitality side on a business part, where I, as an individual, a young entrepreneur who do not know much about the business, who is more inclined towards the creative part, I really felt trouble, maintaining a long-term vision and doing day-to-day challenges. So, as someone who's running a successful company, how do you make sure as an entrepreneur that you balance both?
So actually, the vision and mission is to help you get the right answers. When you look at day-to-day challenges, often when we have day-to-day challenges, we are questioning ourselves whether we should be doing this or whether we should be doing that. There are some options, and the answer is not fairly evident. And the vision actually helps us do that. For example, it is our vision to be 1,000 crore company in the educational higher education B2B space. Now, when you pose the same question, operational question, to your team, that whatever we are doing, is it going to help us become that or not become that? The answer, pops out fairly clearly. So I think that's what a vision or mission is supposed to do in an organization. So whenever we start a business and we are looking at a lofty vision, I think the vision is supposed to give us these answers. So when I say that, we are doing something to help students, and, if there is a process where we find that the student is getting frustrated, the answer is evident. I need to solve that. We can't say that, we are not making money, we are not doing, that's the very solution that we are wanting to provide. So I think the operational mismatch with the lofty vision is actually solved by the presence of the vision. And an entrepreneur needs to pose that as a question, that will what I am doing right now help us go towards that goal or move further away from that goal? So things like ethics, honesty, a lot of these things get solved if you pose that question to yourself.
Yeah, but when did you start in this company? Like, what was the time?
So the company is older, but we have flipped business models. The current, journey was more than a decade old, and we were there just before the COVID had set in. We had already got our products in place, but the traction was slower. And now, of course, it's brilliant, and we are growing. The sector is also wanting to adopt, the cloud and solutions based on the cloud, to be able to, do a lot of things which we wanted them to do in the first place.
I'm very much interested to know on the USP part, like, because when we talk about the educational industry, there are many companies that are coming up, that have succeeded and failed. So what do you think? What is your USP?
So, if you look at the challenges in the context of today, you have a lot of things being talked about the national education policy.
Mhm.
You have things being talked about learning outcomes and employability. You also have all of these horror stories which is there about the NTA and assessments not being fair, examinations being compromised. And in that context, when you ask yourself that, do we have a solution which is, in the cloud and helps us actually deliver assessments, not just for analyzing what you have learned, but also deliver assessments to help the learning process itself. So, there are assessments to assess what you have learned, and there are assessments to help you learn. So now, in that context, our solutions, I think the USP is that irrespective of what mode, whether it is in a chatbot, whether it is in a, proctored exam, whether it is pen and paper exams, question papers generated on the fly, encrypted and delivered at the center, no matter what mode of assessment or exam you want to do, physical or online, our solutions are able to deliver, the questions as well as the assessments, and then derive a lot of analytics around it to be able to pinpoint something very fundamental, that is it the teacher who was lacking in delivering the lecture, or was it the student who did not understand? And if he did not understand, then in which topics he did not understand? So that you are able to have very actionable advice as an administrator or as a management person, that, this is what I need to change. Do I need to change a process of delivery of the learning? Do I need to change the teacher who's delivering it? What is the actionable steps at my end? Because as an entrepreneur at the higher education institute, or as a visionary leader, you also want to drive change, but you don't really have actionable insight that, this is what I will do, then I will get this kind of output that I want. So you keep talking about getting the right results, but you're kind of, puzzled that how do you go about doing that journey? So that's our USP. We are able to solve these questions, able to give answers to the management of higher educational institutes that, why don't you do this? And if you do that, you are going to get what you're really talking about.
Also, there's a one question. It's a very hypothetical question that I'm gonna ask. That even I think of sometimes. Just imagine if in another decade or in another 5 years you're about to open a school for of your own, maybe where you're going to teach 100,000 whatever amount of students. So what would be the subjects you would like to introduce, or what would be the subjects that you think you're going to teach the kids?
So I don't think I'm choosy about the subjects per se. I'm choosy about the process, because subjects actually end up being a restraint, because often learning doesn't happen in linear paths. Learning actually happens in a very weird manner, I would say. You jump from one topic to the other, you start thinking about something else. That's how human behavior is. That's how the human mind works. So actually the assessment system as well as the learning system needs to help us hop from one node to the other in a very free manner. And that's how that learning and assessment will take place. And if the system allows us to do that, while also being able to analyze whether the topics that you were supposed to learn, have you learned them? I think that's the balance, that we need to have. That, are we really looking for more structure, or are we looking for more knowledge?
Therefore, also talking about for an experience, if you would like to do certain things, like you have been running a business since a decade or two, any things or any processes that you would like to change, if you would get the chance to go back to it, or maybe any mistakes that you think of, or anything that you think the young entrepreneurs should do in a certain way? Any two or three things, is it?
In my entrepreneurial journey, is that the question towards my
Indeed.
entrepreneurial journey?
Indeed.
So, I think as an entrepreneur, you have to start somewhere which is small. Now, at the same time, you need to have a very large vision. And that large vision is going to look like a dream for quite a sizable amount of time. If actually you end up having a large vision and you end up starting, then you're definitely going to start small. So almost often and for me also, the initial period of the journey is very, very tough. And, there's a funny saying which they say that, it took us 10 years or 20 years to become an overnight success. So I think that's truly a reality, that, it's a long haul. And as an entrepreneur, you need to realize that both these things are important. Often when you start small, you don't have this lofty vision. I suffered from that, we didn't really have a very big dream. So we had a smaller dream. That smaller dream was actually a constraint on us. It used to restrain us from actually thinking big. So I think, you start small, you kind of console yourself saying that, I just want to do this. I just want to become this much, Often entrepreneurs end up doing that. Ki mere ko to ek chota business banana hai. I want to start small. I want to just make this much. I don't want to become, the world's best or something like that. Because the world's best seems too far off, So that I think is a conundrum. But I think as a successful entrepreneur, you need to have that lofty vision, and you need to start small and take that incremental step. So though counter, it looks a little, counterintuitive, but I think both the components are very critical. And if you miss anyone, you start thinking big and you feel that you're going to start with a bang only, then you'll often not start at all. And the corollary is also true. You don't have a vision, you'll keep floundering for, 3, 4 years, 5 years, until you get that vision in place to make you run.
Got it. Also, talking about beyond, what you're doing, your learning spiral, are there any entrepreneur ventures, or are there any personal hobbies that you're really passionate about?
So personal hobbies are there. I love to paint. I love to sketch. I love to build things. So these are all hobbies which I need to squeeze out time. I mean, literally from all the other stuff that I'm doing. As an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I love new ideas, new ventures, and the ideas and brainstorming around them, whether it is mine or whether it is maybe my friends, it doesn't matter. It just, gives you a kick to be able to think of the next thing and what to strategize around it and what to do and what not to do. So I think that's part of the, the whole interest area that one wants to be part of building of businesses. And I think that's, gives you a kick. So that's how I'm built.
Because you mentioned that particular part that you're an entrepreneur by heart. So do you think that is it the formative years that have shaped you into what you are doing, or is it like more of an influence while growing up? So what does that seem like how you become an entrepreneur by heart?
See, if you reflect in retrospective manner, I come from a family business background, so I've always seen, my the generations before me, my dad, my father, even my sisters, take very keen and active interest in, business, doing business rather than, doing a job. So I think that definitely during the formative years, definitely has got got me wired in a particular way. I guess that must be true. But on the other end, it is also true that, as I said, that intrinsically, I think I just want to build new things. And so when you want to build new things, just like, a piece of blank paper is something which excites me. So when you see a piece of blank paper and, it's so nice and pleasing to be able to draw anything that you want. And I think that's what businesses are also about. It helps you as a tool to drive change in the economy, drive change in the world that you live in a sustainable manner. And so in some ways, it's like you drawing on a piece of blank paper. So that's how I look at it. So, I think all of these put together is how I like being an entrepreneur.
There's a one question that I generally ask to every one of my guests, like, what is the one trend that you would like to see more evolve in the world? Today, I would like to change a bit, and moving forward, I would like to change a bit. Uh, I would like to know, because in Independence Day, I would like to know from you that what is the one dream that you look forward for India as a country?
I think India has, basked in the glory of our past. And I think a lot of Indians miss out in living the past in a real form. And so I think the dream is to have the same kind of, success which one reads about our country, which was there in the past. I think that's the dream which I have. And I think maybe that's a common dream for a lot of Indians. But I think we just want to relive that past, which we have never seen. We have just heard about,
Break down this a bit more. I want to know more about it. What do you mean by relive the past?
You know, we we've read in the books that, India was the source of knowledge. For India was the source of scientific acumen. India was the source of wealth. India was the source of, trade and business and, a lot of this stuff. So this is stuff that we have read in history books, stuff which we have read in novels. We have never seen them. I mean, probably even two generations above have not seen that opulence. In fact, they had not even seen the opulence of today. They lived in a world of scarcity. So I think somewhere that looks like a dream. I think, just like when you're small and they tell you about this Raja and Rani and, this kings and queens which had this amazing empire and everything was glory and, riches and nobody was poor, something like that. So that world which was there in the history textbooks, I think for me, it looks like that dream world. And I think moving forward, if India can even come very close to that, forget about achieving it. I think that's what, as an Indian, I would want to see. And I think a lot of Indians aspire for the same thing, that, can we relive those old days of glory?
Concluding that, you want that, that title of Sone Ki Chidiya back, right?
Yeah, Sone Ki Chidiya. Yeah, whatever. So,
Got it. Also talking about as I grew up, like I'm doing podcasts, so I really look forward towards some figures. I know everyone has a different way of leading a life, and we all want to set an example for ourselves. But as an entrepreneur, have you any father figures, or have you looked up on any Indian businessman or international businessman that you really like their entrepreneur journey, their story, or their style, or maybe any lessons that you have learned from any great businessman in India or the world?
see, I think it's difficult for me to just have one story, but amongst today's businessmen, I think Ratan Tata is a very inspiring story because uh, in him I see a very balanced businessman, who was able to uh, build an empire at the same time, also have a lot of the values, the ethics and morals all put together in the right places. And nothing is ideal, and even entrepreneurs are not ideal. You can pick up the story of any entrepreneur, and you have all the grays and the gray zones as well. It's not just black and white. So I think he was able to get a very good balance, and I think that's a story to be inspired.
Any other things that you really like to touch upon
About the entrepreneur which has
about the work?
inspired me,
About the
or
work. And when I say any other thing, I guess the lots of people who are going to watch this particular episode are the young people, right? Who really look forward to know how to do a business and what they can learn from you from this particular episode. So what do you think that anyone who's going to start a new business in today's the time, 2024 or 2025, or maybe another 5 decade, what are the things that person should know?
so I think opportunities are more today, uh, and the tools for becoming successful are also easier today.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at 10 to 20 years back, uh, even knowledge was not that accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You think about a great idea,
Mm-hmm.
but then to research around that idea, how to do something, what are the things which need to be looked at, what is the infrastructure to be required, all of that pieces of information also was not that readily accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And today, you can pick any idea that you want, and you are going to get, 50 to 60% of basic information in probably 5 minutes or 10 minutes of research. So I think starting a new business, understanding and doing the research around a business is fairly easier today. And if entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs are sensitive to areas of pain, so when you experience pain in anything, there's usually something which is lacking. So that is always an area of opportunity. How big an opportunity, one needs to, of course, analyze. So I think that's the antennas which entrepreneurs need to have open.
Mm-hmm.
And then subsequently, as I talked about a little earlier in my conversation with you, that you need to be action oriented rather than be in an analysis paralysis zone. You often we overanalyze a lot of things and don't start anything at all, when sometimes doing something very, very small as a test market or something would give you a better understanding that whether this is going to work or not going to work. We often just keep thinking it in our head and then do nothing. And, probably the opportunity gets passed. And then 5 years later, he said, I thought about this 5 years before and then did nothing about it. So I think those are things which one needs to look at as a would-be entrepreneur.
And I also really much agree to the point where you mentioned, one should be very much feel the pain of the industry. So as you mentioned that education is something that you really want to bring an impact on, want to bring in change on. You might do business when you think about the profitability, but when it comes to, being an entrepreneur or, creating something, a product or a service for a impact, that's where you have to think twice and thrice that is it something that you can do for another 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, or another 100 years, whatever the time frame is. So that's there, because I remember when, I sit in any group, sometimes over the conversation, that the word entrepreneur has not just become a hype, but came with a very different motive, where we see a big fame, someone driving the big cars, earning good amount. That's what we relate to. But I think it's really hard, and it's really important to know and understand in the mind that there's one thing that you can do for another 10 years or another more 50 years, whatever down to the line.
Absolutely, because that car or that picture which you have dreamt of, that is going to be on your aspiration and vision board for a long time before it comes actually in your garage. So I think that's the tricky period. I mean, as a person, as a human being, you need to have something to be able to inspire you to keep it on that board, keep thinking about it, and then finally get it in your garage. So that journey is tough, and you need to understand that journey is not something that you can skip. At least for the 99% of entrepreneurs, they won't be able to skip it. 1% could be just plain lucky or be there at the right time, and they might end up having the car the next day. I don't know, but for 99% of entrepreneurs, there is going to be that struggle.
Indeed. Also, just want to end it with a very quick personal note. What are the vision for that you think for another 5 or 10 years for yourself and for your business? Just not completely in one line. For yourself, what you look for on an individual level and for Learning Spiral.
So Learning Spiral is clear. I mean, by 2032, we are wanting to be 1,000 crore company on higher educational cloud solutions, and we personally, I want to be driving that. So till 2032, that's the personal goal I've set myself for, that I need to take this organization to that level, and my entire team to their personal aspirations, because that's how I've got it mapped for the team as well. We've done each personal member of the team has drawn his personal goals, this is what he wants to achieve in the journey of the company. So while the company grows till 1,000 crores, he needs to also have his personal aspirations met. So that's something as an entrepreneur I carry with me, that these are the goals not just of the organization but of the entire team, and everything can fall in place in one shot. So that's where we are. That's the vision that drives me, and that's what I think is going to be personally as well as professionally so very satisfying.
Beautiful. I wish we can play this particular clip in 2032. Once this, the company becomes
Absolutely.
Indeed. With that,
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Mr. Manish. It's a beautiful day, and it's a beautiful conversation with you. Any last note that you want to left us with?
No, I want to thank you for providing me this opportunity and to have this amazing conversation on this nice afternoon. And thanks a ton and I hope I have been able to share something which will be of help to your audience.
Definitely. And I really look forward to host you someday in person. Come to Delhi, we'll record it for sure. But it was lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.